I think we can all agree that Dr. Smith is the most punchable character in the history of television. She is way more antagonizing than the Dr. Smith from the original Lost in Space. And is it a good thing or a bad thing that we hate this character so much? And should we blame that on good writing or bad writing? And is there any hope for her character to be less hateable in future seasons? And before I get into this, I will most definitely be mentioning a lot of spoilers from all of season 1 during this rant, so keep that in mind. In Lost in Space 2018, Dr. Smith's main goal was to look out for herself. At first, her mission was to steal her sister's identity and get to Alpha Centauri, and that was it. Smith just wants to put the past behind her and get a fresh start, but that didn't work out as she was caught red-handed for identity theft and taking a man's life by tossing him out of an airlock. The only way she escaped from being a prisoner on the Resolute was just by pure luck. The robot was attacking the ship and she stole a Jupiter. Knowing that she would have no chance of living a new safe life on Alpha Centauri, she needed to make sure that she had power in order to become a productive member of the colony. She would look out for herself and that was it. And in her mind, nothing was wrong with that, making her kind of a sociopath. Some people are claiming that most characters, like the entire Robinson family and Don West, are pretty unintelligent for not seeing through Dr. Smith, and the fact that she is a straight up villain. But we need to understand that Dr. Smith is a master manipulator. We see the season more subjectively as we focus on her story more often, and know her intentions from the start, and the others just believe they picked up a psychologist from the Resolute. The Robinsons do become suspicious of Dr. Smith at various points in the show. In fact, Judy did not trust her at all during the moment they met. Don West had his suspicions, but didn't turn against her until he found actual evidence that she wasn't the real Dr. Smith. It's also mentioned multiple times that only the best and brightest could be taken aboard the Resolute on a journey to live on Alpha Centauri. They all just assumed that she passed the tests and requirements to fly into space, earning access to one of the Jupiters that crashed down on the unnamed planet. So why would the characters be suspicious of a survivor from the Resolute? If all the other survivors are focused on just working together and getting back to the Resolute to continue their journey, there would absolutely be no reason to suspect that someone on board one of the Jupiters is a criminal. During the middle of the season, Maureen and John caught the only criminal activity going on at the time, which was Don West being a smuggler, but he was just an engineer aboard the Resolute and was clearly identified as that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And their worries about criminals being let loose in a world filled with vicious creatures, harsh weather conditions, fuel-eating eels, tar pits, giant ominous robots being controlled by a 10-year-old, Oreos, an annoying strict leader, no way of communicating with their only escape, and a black hole sucking everyone into the sun, I'd say that suspecting a psychologist from the Resolute of being a sociopathic outlaw would not really cross anyone's mind. Either way, Dr. Smith's motivation was clear. She was nothing on Earth except a disappointment and a criminal. I keep hearing people say that Smith's plan relied too much on luck and pure coincidence, and that it was very unrealistic. But on the unnamed planet with the Robinsons, Smith was not playing the long game throughout their encounter. She had no huge elaborate plan. She just had the one mission, which was to get the robot on her side and get to Alpha Centauri. Other characters got in the way of her plan, but it was her manipulation and improvisational skills that got her out of being caught. From the first time we see her, she wasn't planning, but simply rolling with the punches. She seizes each opportunity that looks like the best route for her survival. This eventually evolves into just making multiple escape plans. And that way, if one fails, she still has another way of going about it, which in my opinion is good writing. Yes, luck is on Smith's side throughout the series, but Smith is not the protagonist. She simply adds to the conflict, so the actual protagonists, like the Robinsons and Don, have issues that they need to solve with their communication, intelligence, and survival skills. What fascinated me was how Dr. Smith spared certain lives. During episode 9, Dr. Smith kept repeating herself to Maureen, saying she didn't know that knocking Maureen out would cause the death of her husband, and that her intent was not to hurt anyone, which is somewhat true. When the Robinsons were preparing John and Don to launch into space with the other Jupiter, Smith was locked in the loading bay. It's not like Smith would have known they had to keep mission control down on Maureen's ship. At different points in the series, Dr. Smith ties up Will, her own sister, and Maureen. It was only in a very tense situation did she hesitate to take someone's life during the moment with the airlock. But like any other human assuring their own safety, she debates whether or not she should save an untrustworthy man who is cheating on his wife. Like seriously, how do you trust a man like that to keep a secret? However, like her entire personality through the entire show, her reaction seemed very ingenuine after the man was sucked in into space, a little distraught from the situation, but kind of just relieved that it's over. Either way, her decision wasn't made and the man died. Smith did leave Dawn and Angela behind in the end of episode 2, as well as taking the only flare gun from them, leaving them alone in a storm with no hope of rescue. But at the end of episode 10, Dawn and John are floating in space, and Smith launches a second harpoon shot so the two of them can return back to the ship. And I'm disappointed there wasn't a sliver of hope for Smith redeeming herself and transcend beyond being evil for the sole purpose of looking out for herself. It seemed like a good moment for the character of Dr. Smith to grow and become less of a villain and more of a human. Yet when Maureen questions Smith in the end, asking her why she saved John, Smith replies, "Because I was sorry," in literally the fakest way possible. And when Maureen asks if she's really sorry, Smith just replies with, "I said it because it was the right thing to say." And in that moment, we fully understand who Smith is. A character that will say and do anything that she needs to assure her survival. She only brought John back aboard because she was creating a backup plan in case her robot failed, just creating more contingency plans just for her safety. And I'm in favor of the writing. I think that it's a great thing that we all hate her character. I love a villain that makes you want to profusely scream at your TV. However, making her a complete sociopath with no redeeming qualities can be really isolating for us as an audience, especially when the show tried to make us sympathize with her, as we saw flashbacks from her perspective and why she wanted to leave Earth. I hope they make her more of a dynamic character next season, and not the main villain. And those were my quick thoughts on Dr. Smith, and how she is one of the most hated villains I've ever seen in my entire life. Comment below and tell me why you guys love, hate, or just mainly hate Dr. Smith. And if you guys learned something today, I love sci-fi analysis, please subscribe to support this channel, and I will see you guys in my next Lost in Space video.